Countdown from 5.
Hello, everyone. I think I nailed it, but we're gonna go for it.
Can you do me a favor?
Welcome to another episode of our political recap.
You,
Yes.
your entire intro on my end cut out.
Oh no! Oh no! Hello, everyone. My name is Chubbs LP. I'm a professional streamer. We do this every week. Um, Welcome to another episode of the political recap. Joining me as always, you've heard him already. It's Omegon. Say hello, Omegon.
That wasn't Omegon, I promise. Hello, Omegon. Oh dear.
How is Omegon?
I'm all right. A bit warm, but that's all right. It's
Mhm.
that time of year. I don't mind. I have a fan which
Yeah,
I've had to turn off because the stream will go. Well, if I can't sexify your audio in a hotel with the big dick energy, I certainly can't on my end if I have a fan in the background. So
Yes, quite. Aren't you
irritating.
glad the big dick energy is gone?
No, I miss him. I really do.
I miss him too.
I just yeah. Yeah, I'm all right. How's Trups LP?
Pups is okay. I changed my Twitter profile a little bit
Oh yeah.
recently. I added another line, basically saying some may call me an agitator, and they are 100% correct.
Actually, that would be true because you yourself have admitted as such when it comes to arguments with family.
Well, I
I
don't
don't want to
intend. I
start.
don't intend
You
that,
just
but yes,
see it and you're like, wait.
I can't. I can't stop. I can't stop.
It's an addiction.
A bit.
I probably should have paid more attention because I did at you on Twitter during the week because of Pat talking about hookahs and I was like, I just you deal with it.
Yeah, I pulled him into a DM so I could go through it with him.
Oh, fantastic! I hope he has fun doing whatever it is he ends up doing or getting.
Yeah, I hope he gets back to me. 'Cause I had given him a bunch of stuff to look at, and he said he was researching the things that I listed off to him.
Mm-hmm.
So
Has the week been good for you, by the way?
the week has been good. I'm back to work and stuff. So
Fantastic.
yeah, I'm back to work, not in another city. So that's always nice.
It is if you're not
Um,
having to spend so much on food.
Yeah, true. But other than that, like it's been a pretty standard week for me. Harassing people on Twitter, getting involved in fights, all that good stuff.
How have you not been yeeted yet?
I don't think I have a big enough following to get yeeted. I don't think enough people really see the quality of bullshittery that
I actively
that I espouse.
I actively avoid fights because I'm trying to grow my following. Not because I want to get like a blue check mark. I just want to see how far I can get it before I lose it.
Well, don't get me wrong. I too want to grow my following, but I don't want to grow my following by faking who I am. And I'm not insinuating that you do.
Oh,
But
no,
what I'm saying is,
totally
a lot of
do.
people will play the politically correct game just to attain followers, and I want none of that. I would rather have as much press, bad press, good press, all of it's good press to me.
I consider most of it good press. I think because of the stage I've gotten to on certainly my main channel and the connection then to my Twitter, I have to be a little careful so I don't end up getting cancelled.
Yeah, but you rely on it a little bit more than I do too.
Yeah,
like for me, it's still that early. Like I do this for fun.
You and I have a very different definition of the word fun.
I enjoy stirring the pot.
Mine's mostly just sharing dead memes.
And like sometimes I have to rationalize this because in the case that anybody ever questions me on it, I have to be able to rationalize it to myself as well as anybody else. But when I say I'm stirring the pot, I don't necessarily mean like I'm stirring the pot just to stir the pot. Like I'm not like an advert troll.
Mm-hmm.
But I do stir the pot usually for the reasons of there's a significant important detail here that people are neglecting to notice, that the only way that I get you to notice it is if I troll you, because then you'll actually pay attention, because obviously it's me goading those people, right?
Yeah.
Like, I want you to pay attention and to you to get angry so that you look at the thing that I'm telling you.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Especially with the amount of BS that has come out recently, and this week in particular, about all the information that was told to us in the American media as false or lies by Donald Trump, turning out to be remarkably true.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder if I just actually said like fake news up until like the last sentence, would I get people raging at me for the early part, only to then accept the fact that the thing that I said that I actually cared about mentioning was there? Like, or have I completely shot myself in the foot because I've combined it with fake information?
Tough one.
Yeah, but these are random thoughts that go through my head while I'm agitating on Twitter.
Well, now it all makes sense. And there I am, I'm posting a picture of Gorilla Glue, asking if I should glue my hair to my head. This is how different you and I are. I will just shitpost because I don't care. And I mean, you shitpost.
Oh, I definitely shitpost.
But I know you'll confront people. I can't be bothered.
Yeah, I usually shitpost for a reason.
Yeah,
and
I don't.
Yeah, I shitpost with purpose. That's a great shirt slogan.
Shitpost for a purpose.
Yeah,
I like that. That's like a Trups LP quote.
Yeah, I like that one. I like that.
Yeah, you should write it down. You should write it down.
I will. Patriarch of the Sith in the chat asks, will you be discussing Wang Chung's dance hall days and its effect on 21st century lingerie? I have no idea what some of those words mean.
Yeah, what's the 21st century?
I know who Wang Chung is. I don't know what Wang Chung's dance hall days are.
I don't know what any of that
and
is.
I don't have a single clue what that would have to do with 21st century lingerie. So probably not.
All we know is we're both wearing lingerie. Nothing more can be said about it, though.
Oh, obviously. All the time.
It's a given. Before we get into any subjects, I do want to take a moment to thank the now 153 people that follow us on Spotify. Thank you very much for doing that. We greatly appreciate it.
Love you.
You do that every time. It's so enthusiastic. I'm alright with
man. It's a trope at this point.
I'm alright with it. It's a nice way.
No,
it's like a little public service announcement, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Well, it's that joke. It's like, all right, kids, what do you say? Thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, bye bye.
Just the commitments. I just like it. Where should we start?
Okay, so where do you? Well, that's a great question. I was about to ask you the same question.
I'm kind of got the first then.
Well, I kind of wanna touch on this G7 thing, because you said that besides these couple of things, the G7 has been remarkably boring.
Well, okay, so there was some coronavirus stuff, a little bit of Brexit stuff as well. So we do have a little bit going. What?
Why is there Brexit stuff?
Okay, then we'll start here. Okay, we have what we call in the UK the sausage wars.
Okay.
Would you like to know more about the sausage wars?
I'm scared to say yes.
Yes. Emmanuel Macron is posturing and threatening to veto a protocol overhaul, which includes Northern Ireland. And this includes sausages in deals, in trade. Oh, for fuck's sake. Essentially, it's just putting a little bit of a strain on services because, well, the issue with the Northern Ireland Protocol is it had been for a while been threatening to overshadow the G7 gathering. Boris Johnson, he says there's nothing wrong with what's been going on, but Macron's like, no, you can't give us sausages, man. No, we're not. No. So, Boris Johnson agreed a deal with Brussels that made Brexit happen. Obviously, we all know this. The trade agreement tries to deal with the fact that Ulster, which is Northern Ireland, is part of the UK with a EU land border with Ireland. But some of the new arrangements cause disruption to trade and have done since the start of the year because firms have had issues with processes and administration. Under the Good Friday Agreement, which ended the sectarian violence in Ulster, the border between Ireland and Northern Ireland must remain soft, so no border checks, right?
Okay.
This has been signed off by both sides, which keeps Northern Ireland in the European single market for goods in order to avoid that hard border. But this, much to the chagrin of many, has meant erecting a trade barrier in the Irish Sea for goods that come cross over from Great Britain, which do then have to face customs checks before entering Northern Ireland, even if they're not being taken into the Republic. Now, there was a 6-month grace period for these checks, which runs out at the end of this month. And this is where the issue is, because Brussels has threatened to launch a trade war against Britain unless we implement checks on goods entering Northern Ireland under the terms of the Brexit settlement. And this is where Macron comes in, because if we try and change the protocol, he will veto it, which has now been dubbed the Sausage Wars, because a lot of those goods are sausage-based.
Okay, so you're having some conflicts over your meat.
Yep. Macron can't handle our meat.
Nope, Macron cannot handle.
You've seen his sea boats. Remember those? The tiny little thing next to our giant aircraft carriers.
Oh yeah.
He really can't handle our meat.
Of course.
He can't take our meat.
No. Yes, that was a great picture.
We didn't show it on stream. Do you?
No, we didn't.
Would you like to describe it?
Yeah. Well, you guys know what it looks like. An aircraft carrier, one of the largest naval vessels, usually in a fleet, right? Mm-hmm. And you see two of Her Majesty's ships flanking this tiny little thing in the center. And it was a picture that had said, look at Her Majesty's ships next to the French aircraft carrier. And you know how the letter H looks? It kind of looks like that.
My first thought when I saw it was, whereas ours were holding about a dozen planes, theirs could barely hold one plane. And it wasn't even a full-size plane. It was like a Dodo from Grand Theft Auto 3. So
not only that, but
tiny.
I want to point out that the UK Defense Journal were the shitheads who posted the picture.
Yeah.
Which makes it 10 times funnier.
Oh yeah. These guys, they're just, I mean, trolling themselves perhaps? I don't know. I don't know why.
I don't think so. What is it? It says the actual post said, "We are pleased to be the first to announce that French aircraft carrier Charles de Gaulle, yeah, let's go with that, met up with Her Majesty's Queen Elizabeth and Her Majesty's Prince of Wales yesterday, and it is a stark difference."
Would you like something completely different from this quickly?
Yes, very interesting. Yeah.
Okay, this one is interesting. Actually, you'll like this. It will make you want to talk. So, Prime Minister has had a little discussion with Joe Biden about the murder of Harry Dunn, the guy who was killed after a car on the wrong side of the road crashed into his motorbike outside the RAF U.S. intelligence base in Northamptonshire in 2019. Anne Secoulis, do you remember her?
The name sounds familiar, but
well,
continue.
She had diplomatic immunity. She sought it because I think her husband was connected in some manner. She got back to the US and she was protected by Trump. And you took the stance back then of, she's on American soil. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, Biden's open to discussions on this.
Okay. So Biden is willing to extradite, essentially, a person who had committed a crime in the UK. I mean, the thing is that this is not an unusual negotiation for countries to engage in. So I took the stance of, I mean, you lost your opportunity,
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
Um, but the other thing is like, if you get the situation where they're willing to do it, I mean, at the person that she had crashed into died, didn't they?
Harry Dunn, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So
Well, the thing,
like, I think that the family deserves a little bit of like justice at that. Yeah.
yes, this is where the issue arises about the whole diplomatic immunity, because people were poking holes at that originally. And so Boris has said that Biden is actively engaged and extremely sympathetic in this case. Well, the sympathetic implies didums. Engaged contradicts that a bit by saying, "Oh, I might do something here," but he won't. We know that because I don't see it. He has no real reason to do so, really. It's
See,
actually
the hard part for me to really come down on, because I know that I had the opinion, then in a certain kind of way,
there's a
but the
context.
hard part to really get, you know, the way to actually like feel about this is really depends on what kind of bullshit laws that the government has created or put in place to protect these people. Like, even back then, like, you have diplomatic immunity, okay. You have somebody who did something wrong. I'm sorry, that's what diplomatic immunity does. Ah, but somebody is willing to extradite them. Okay, that kind of ruins the purpose of diplomatic immunity. But at the same time, yes, that's what countries do when someone commits a crime. But at the same, you can argue both sides of this till ad nauseum, because both have merit. It's just, where do you want to draw the line? And it's going to be up to Biden and their administration,
Well,
and
there's
probably
that.
our
There are court arguments now on the appeals for this diplomatic community, and that stuff. The Court of Appeals aren't going to deal with this till next year anyway. So I assume
that
they
doesn't
just
surprise me.
they take forever. I'm not surprised they're not going to do too much too soon anyway, because realistically, they have no reason to. They can just drag their feet on it. It was just the only reason I mentioned it, by the way, is because it was right at the bottom underneath the sausage wars, and I just saw this little passage in an article and thought, it's a shame.
Oh, interesting.
Well, also arguments between people. I know Boris and Biden over Northern Ireland, I think, because Biden is let's see. He rebuked the UK over its continued opposition to the full implementation of the Northern Ireland Protocol, which is a very rare thing for a president to do. I think the last person to do it was actually Obama.
Oh, wow. You mean Biden's doing things that Obama had done?
Basically.
Color me surprised.
I try not to.
Wow.
That's being
Do you
done by
feel
someone
like
else at the
Boris
moment.
has? Do you think that Boris has changed since he's been elected?
I think there is definitely a level of influence from other people. I mean, a lot of people have he has advisors. They're going to give him information, and he's going to make his decision. But he also has people in his life that influence him, and it's why you hear quite odd things come out of his mouth that make very little sense. Let me go find a suitable quote. Where is it? Because it was quite dumb. Where was it? Oh, here it is. Right, hang on. Okay. I think that is what the people of. Oh, hang on. You build back better. Johnson told, build back better, be united in our vision for a cleaner, greener world. I think that is what the people of our countries now want us to focus on. They want us to be sure that we are beating the pandemic together and discussing how we will never have a repeat of what we have seen, but also that we are building back better together. Building back greener, building back fairer, building back more equal, and how shall I, in a more gender neutral and perhaps a more feminine way.
Now, that doesn't seem much like, maybe it's just based on my experiences, learning things about the man. But that doesn't sound much like the same Boris Johnson who who was elected. So,
No,
do you feel as if that's changed?
I feel like that was written by his wife, quite frankly. I say this because there are certain, like, okay, so there are certain ideas that are pushed and perpetuated by certain groups. This isn't a very conservative thing to say. Equality, everyone has to push for because if they get caught out, yeah. But when it comes to
that plus, I mean, just equality in general.
yeah,
I mean,
it's
there's
in
not
everything.
really much wrong with
But
it.
it's when you push certain buzzwords, those buzzwords you don't expect out of a Conservative Prime Minister. And chaos, if you've eaten an actual Lincolnshire sausage, a proper one, they would not have the same texture as a hot dog. I can promise you that because I have some in the fridge and they are nowhere near similar. Hot dogs are trash. Lincolnshire sausages are not. Actual sausages. Whatever shit you've eaten, I do apologise, but it wasn't the same stuff. I can guarantee you that. Yeah, it seemed like a strange thing to come out of the Prime Minister's mouth. And many have pointed at it and gone, how do you do gender neutral and feminine? How? And also, why gender neutral? Because now you're going to trigger those who are all other genders who are being ignored, that are non-binary perhaps, who want to be recognised. See, you can't win this argument. You can't win it. Because if you say one thing like that, gender neutral, you're not recognising anyone. And then to say feminine implies you are only recognising women, which is that's a bad thing, because I saw something earlier in the week where people were blaming, let me go find it. They were blaming white women for it was Oxfam, right, yeah. An Oxfam training document, Oxfam's a charity, a staff training document blamed privileged white women over the root causes of, was it sexual violence or something? Root causes of sexual violence. It's privileged white women. This is... I don't know where people are going now. I'm confused. I don't understand society anymore.
I kind of want to know more about that article now, because I'm thinking to myself, how do you figure?
I've got you, fam. I've got two articles for this. Because I wanted to get one from a left-leaning and one from a right-leaning source. So there's a 4-week learning journey compiled by the British charities LGBT Network. It claims that mainstream feminism supports the root causes of sexual violence.
Interesting.
That's a very interesting position to take. It's a dangerous one.
Yeah. I don't think anybody would agree with... I'm trying to think of like who you're appealing to by saying these things.
Right.
And I don't think you have any winners here.
I was actually more offended, not by the claims, but by what they used for the presentation. They used PowerPoint.
Oh, do you not like PowerPoint?
I'm not a fan.
It's very basic, but like gets the job done.
It does get the job done. I had to do a presentation when I was 19, and it was on managing information systems, MIS, and it's not overly complicated. My presentation didn't go to plan, because even though I set the slides to do at 20-second intervals based on my speech pattern, it worked. It did it at 2-second intervals, and my presentation was done in less than 20 seconds. I was very happy with this, because I don't like doing presentations.
Shocking.
Yeah, I suck at live streams, if you hadn't noticed. It's knowing knowing that people are watching, I struggle.
Interesting.
I don't know.
Well, I have never noticed, so you're able to pull the wool over my eyes.
I do what I can. What do you think of Boris's comments, by the way, about...
So at first my thoughts were, when you said gender neutral, I was like, okay, well that's the basis that you're gonna go with to kind of lean into the woke or just the left, right? But then you said, or perhaps even a bit feminine. And I was like, is that the edgy thing? Is that the curious thing that you're saying? You
Or
know,
maybe Trudeau whispered
because
it into his ears.
well, you know how some people will say, you know, it's something or perhaps this, but I'm not quite sure, and that perhaps this part is usually something so far out there that any normal person would dismiss it outright.
Yeah.
But if someone says, but maybe, then it's a little less painful to hear because you can rationalize it in your head as, and they're just
Yeah.
joking. Okay, that's how it feels. It's almost like the feminine aspect to this speech is somehow controversial, which realistically, thinking about how identity politics has structured the, you know, the I don't want to say the disabilities, but disabilities is part of it. The social hierarchies based on immutable characteristics. You do have feminist, or I'm sorry, yeah, well, I mean, exclusively feminist, feminine things as being a little lower on the totem pole than transgenderism, for instance. So I don't necessarily. I see where he went with that, but I'm a little curious as to why being quote unquote feminine is something that you have to walk on eggshells about. Do you kind of see where I'm going with that?
I
Do you
do.
understand what I'm?
I do.
Yeah. So, like, what are your thoughts? You think he's like dancing around the idea of being feminine for a reason, or do you think it's
Part of me thinks it's something simpler. It's because I think he's chosen these words because of who he has sat around or sat with, in the sense of he's surrounded by a lot of people who identify as feminist, a lot of people who identify as very much more left-leaning than he is. So he is choosing his language to, what's the word?
placate or
fit in.
Okay.
Yeah, placate works.
Yeah, placate or cater to them.
I wanted to use the ingratiate. So I don't know what the word is. You know, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, ingratiate works, like to indebt themselves, but like put them in their good graces. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what he was doing. It makes sense because the statement alone made very little sense on its own. It doesn't fit with the policies pushing. But then at the same time, he did claim that it was vital the UK doesn't make the mistakes of the last great crisis, which was the recession of 2008, when the recovery was not uniform across all parts of society. He has, in effect, compared the 2008 recession to coronavirus, which is like it's a really shitty. I get where he's going with it, but it's a really bad false equivalence.
Oh, absolutely.
The 2008 economic recession was not caused by a lab, allegedly.
Well, definitely not. In fact, if you could actually argue that there were aspects of, well, I mean, I guess you actually could make equivalencies, and here's why. Because you have a government funded or financed institution that performed improperly or without oversight, and therefore caused negligent damage to something.
Yes.
So in the case of the 2008 housing market, you had loans that could never be paid back, that were being given out to people who had no business ever getting those loans in the first place. Then when you lose a whole lot and you start getting into debt, and the Fed is essentially, you know, begging the government for assistance, you have a whole lot of bailouts. So in this case, whereas you don't have a direct institution, you have the funding going into a place like the Wuhan Institute of Virology that may or may not have been, you know, part and parcel of this whole shenanigans that we've got going on.
Shenanigans is the correct word, really, isn't it?
It's the best word because nothing. I could not describe what is going on in politics surrounding the Wuhan situation as anything but shenanigans. Because that is literally all it feels like.
Yeah. It does feel like it, to be fair.
It's just like you can't even begin to like pretend that this is anything but like stupid, man.
It's stupid.
That's all it is. It's just stupid. And the only way that these kinds of stupid things happens, shenanigans. Little games that people are playing in high places without regard of the underlings that may be impacted by it. Absolute fucking clowns. But alas, that's just that piece.
So
we're still learning more about the Wuhan situation. That's always interesting.
Well, there is some more stuff to that in a second, but I do have one little thing I found. According to Downing Street, the PM's comments about gender neutral and feminine was a reference to improve the prospects of girls around the world. And while they accept it's a little cringe, it was to seem like they're going to do more overseas, yet even though the government is temporarily cutting overseas aid budget overall anyway, which has caused a bit of a stir. So yeah, he was just saying it to make it seem like he's doing stuff worldwide to help girls.
Interesting. Cringy.
Yeah. Coronavirus then.
Yeah. You guys have coronavirus stuff too, right? Because
we do.
All ours, the greatest thing that happened this week in terms of coronavirus is, you know those emails that we were talking about last week that Fauci had?
Mm-hmm.
Well, did you know that if you criticize Fauci, you are in fact criticizing science itself?
That sounds like a whole lot of bullshit.
He is science, don't you know? As he was appointed, and he has never been wrong. Never. Especially not in the AIDS crisis. He totally didn't say that AIDS was airborne.
Even though he has been proven fundamentally wrong on multiple occasions. All right.
Correct. If my sarcasm is not evident, I weep for you and your children.
Next, when we have this set updated, I promise there'll be a sarcasm sign on the screen.
I hope it's like an old carnival sign with like giant goddamn
light bulbs.
Yeah, those giant light bulbs, like a strength.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I know what you mean. Okay, so in the UK, the what's it called? The India Delta strain has caused numbers in the UK of infections to go up in the thousands per day. So Boris Johnson is planning, instead of the June 21st Freedom Day, to move it back to July 19th, which it's one of the worst kept secrets. We knew it was going to happen because of that India variant that is causing issues already. So essentially a 4-week delay is potential at this point. And that's, I mean, it's likely, but people yet again are getting all over the top hype about the infection rate. They're not bothering to look at the death numbers, right? The infections went up to 8,125 today. How many people do you think died today?
I'm going to go with under 100.
Keep going.
Under 10?
A bit higher.
12.
17.
Damn it.
I'm sorry, but these I mean, okay, yes, it'll take a while for people to die of coronavirus. I get it. But the number of infections, it's not killing. So,
yeah.
Why are you being so reactionary over an infection rate? Yet again, people are still obsessing over the wrong detail. And this...
Well, I think the reason why is because they put so much faith into it, right? So, like, people believe in their heart of hearts that this vaccine was supposed to be the God vaccine, like polio, right? Like, we had the polio vaccine, and never again will we ever experience polio in our modern lifetimes, even though there are some instances of polio.
I'm assuming at some point they're going to think, the only way to cure coronavirus is to stick those infected in an iron lung.
We could go with that route. That's some people are like a bit crazy about the whole thing.
A little bit.
They're losing a bit of their minds, because I saw there was a post on Facebook that was literally talking about how now that people aren't vaccinated and whatnot, people aren't compelled to wear masks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this has caused a lot of issues with people who bought into the fear mongering, and basically the lies that were essentially pushed by major media about not just masks, but like the important detail that they would mention on the media was the death numbers. Remember on CNN they used to have a death ticker
We had it in
throughout
UK as
all.
well.
Oh, did you?
We had
You had it all throughout all the things.
Some sites had a daily death count, and no. I know so many people bought into this, the idea that the vaccine was actually a cure. No, it diminished your susceptibility and the harm the symptoms do to you. It doesn't stop you catching shit.
Mm-hmm.
Fam, no. It's one of the shittest vaccines known to exist, because it doesn't cure anything. Therefore, it's not a vaccine.
I'm curious, which vaccine are you referencing? Are you referring to all of them? Because I just want to know for my own sake.
Well, the argument's always been that none of them actually cure you. They, at best, only suppress symptoms.
Yeah, okay.
But that's that. To be honest, even with vaccines, by definition, it's people can still catch what they're vaccinated against.
Mm-hmm.
It's again.
Yeah, there's been ongoing research into the likelihood of reinfection after the vaccine. So that part is it's constantly being looked at.
This one's trickier because of the way some of these vaccines are made, how they have to be stored and how they have to be administered and how they break down once they're in your body. Because you remember here, some people have had to have a second dose of whichever one they had.
Yes.
Right. Some of them had to be stored in negative temperatures.
Mm-hmm.
These things have. They're almost akin to that of nuclear fallout, a half-life that just depletes quicker than some elements that can barely handle oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
It's astonishing how quick they break down, and that's not a vaccine.
Absolutely.
At best, that's just it's a suppressor.
Well, they don't actually function like vaccines either.
No, they don't.
They are rewriting your mRNA to be able to adapt to the spike protein that is in the that allows the coronavirus to attach to your cells and replicate. Mm-hmm. It's not even a vaccine in the traditional sense, where it injected you with a inert version of the virus that your body then learned how to address. That's not even how it's currently working. As it stands right now. So
this handily leads on to the former Supreme Leader of the United Kingdom, Tony Blair, one of the longest reigning Prime Ministers of the last century. Not last century, but of the last 100 years.
Okay. Well, that is the century. Sir.
Yeah, but some pedantic shit's not going to realise I said that. Who has said, not that part, I was clearing my throat, sorry. He said it really makes no sense to treat the two groups as if they are the same and insist that a two-tier system of rules would not be discriminatory. What am I referring to? I'm referring to the fact that he believes that the way to save the June 21st Freedom Day is to have rules for those who are vaccinated and those who are unvaccinated. So he suggested that restricting the freedoms of those who can have vaccine but opt not to would be unfair because they have made an active choice to reject the jab. So many people argue here that his arguments infringe human rights, civil liberties, because this is entirely optional. If you mandated people had to have a vaccine in this country, there would actually be protests because you are now forcing people to have something they don't want.
Or in some cases, are allergic to or have religious opposition to.
There is that. And it's a tricky one, really, because some of us here in the United Kingdom don't want it. It's as simple as that. I have sisters that don't. Cognitive thought, he himself has said many times, I have no interest in this, I don't need that. There are many people who don't want it, and there should not be two sets of rules for those who are vaccinated and those who are not. It does infringe on human rights, it does create a two-tier system, and that is, by the very definition of the word, discriminatory. But he believes, here's another quote. They have got to look at the data as it proceeds, but my point is, if you do get into a situation where you are finding it difficult to keep to the date, June 21st, then look at distinguishing between those who are vaccinated and those people who are not, because it really makes no sense to treat the two groups as if they are the same. And when people say, well, you're discriminating against people who are unvaccinated, you have, of course, got to make provision for those who, for medical reasons, can't get vaccinated. But if someone simply chooses not to, I mean, frankly, that is their choice. You are not discriminated against them. They have chosen not to do it. He thinks, by someone saying no, that person is not being discriminated against. But actually they are, because you're not respecting their choice. You are then forcing them to live a separate set of rules. Because even though it is a case of your body, your choice, he is saying, it is your choice, but I'm going to insert a consequence as a threat.
Mm-hmm. The fact that you don't have freedom of choice if there is a inherent consequence that is not a natural consequence, but a consequence that has been thrust upon you because of this singular issue.
Yes.
So because that you have made this decision, which to some would just be considered politically inconvenient. Yeah. Some do view it that way, or some find it to be dangerous to those who are very, very scared. There are those who believe all these different sorts of things, and the fact that there is a different set of rules that was basically created just for this, yes, we have a bit of an issue with that. As you should, in my opinion. People should be concerned that that there are rules being passed that treat people differently based on however they want to approach their lives. There's a difference, and most of the annoying people, what they will say is, yeah, well, people will put up signs for their businesses that say no shirt, no shoes. Well, what if I just say, no vaccine, no mask, right? And then we can reserve the right to refuse service. What you will eventually create, while technically, yes, you are technically correct, which in my opinion is the best kind of correct, but I disagree with this premise. What you'll end up doing is you'll create a second class of citizen, right? Because what that eventually boils down to, what ends up happening then, is you will have individuals who are not vaccinated for a multitude of reasons, but the whole point is that they are unvaccinated. What this will mean is that person won't be able to celebrate these holidays with their community, won't be able to go to concerts, won't be able to go to sports events, won't be able to travel on airplanes, as Delta and United Airlines in the United States have been talking about doing vaccine passport kinds of stuff. And I know that we touched on it a little bit last week, but this is not a good thing. A lot of people are like, yes, that will keep me safe, and then I can have the confidence to travel. The safety that we provide as a company, or that a company will provide you, you take the risk every time you travel anywhere. And it is up to you, the individual, to make the precautions or take the precautions to ensure that you and your family and your loved ones are safe on that journey. So whether that means you don't fly Spirit Airlines because you think their policies are sketchy, or that one flight attendant once treated you really harshly, or you you have a separate phone that works, or you change out your SID chip when you travel internationally immediately, and you call your family and tell them, here's the new number, call me if you need me. This kind of stuff. Like, whatever kind of precautions you take, that is your responsibility to take. And that has to do the same thing with vaccines, right? It is up to the individual, not the company, to mandate these rules for themselves, to take care of themselves. I hate that, well, first of all, that your former prime minister, like, who the fuck gives a shit? Yeah, who the fuck gives a shit about him?
Well, that's that.
Has made this comment, but at the same time, he's advocating for creating a second class citizenry, a class that's entire existence is going to be based on the discrimination that they will face based on their vaccination choices. I ranted, I'm sorry.
You owe no apology, quite frankly. I don't support what Tony Blair suggested, and I don't think the government could implement such an idea in the first place. To do so would be, political suicide, quite frankly. And how would you implement this two-tier system anyway? If you do roll out a license, it will cost billions to do in the UK anyway. So there's no point. What are you going to do? Have apps on people's phones?
So in America, that's exactly what they're doing. The Excelsior app is what it's called.
Yeah, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that.
Well, if in a one world or a one government world, right? Thinking like Star Trek or Star Wars, where Coruscant is just a giant planet that is a city, right? That's controlled by one government. If we ever had something like that, then yes, that would make international travel a whole lot easier. However, at that point, we would become the EU's wet dream, and they can go fuck themselves.
Well, as with that, government officials and all other reason in mind, we should perhaps go to something completely different. Why don't we talk about what your vice president recently said that you find quite fascinating?
Oh yes. So our vice president, the lovely, talented, stunning, brave, Blasian vice president, Kamala Harris, did her first big girl mission to Guatemala to address the root causes of illegal immigration at our southern border. And she, in all of her greatness, decided, you know what? Trump was right. And she told the Guatemalans to stay home, to not make the journey through Mexico to the southern U.S. border. And I was happy about that. That was a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, unironically, I'm actually happy that she made this statement. However, I am not above calling her out for her blatant and hilarious hypocrisy because of the amount of bullshit that she pulled on the campaign trail, and as a senator beforehand, calling out the Trump administration for their xenophobia and racism, because that we are a country of immigrants, and to close the border on these refugees is not who we are. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris was asked, "Will you go to the border?" And she says, "We have been to the border." And the interviewer goes, "You haven't been to the border." And she goes, "Yeah, I haven't been to Europe either."
That's not... What is she trying to... What kind of points is that?
Deflecting. No, it's not. It's the same kind of shit that you see on Twitter, right? It's the whataboutism. It's like, hi, your job is to go to the border. We notice you haven't done that. Yeah, we have. The government, meaning, we have been to the border. Yes, but it's your job. You haven't been there. Well, yeah, I haven't been to Europe either. Yeah, what the fuck? Who cares? Lady, who actually gives a shit? No one cares about where you haven't been. You have a singular job. Like, that was all they asked. The Biden administration has told you to do one thing. Handle the southern border crisis. She went to Guatemala and was greeted by signs that said, Kamala go home and Trump won.
That does support the, was it the Latin America voting for Trump in certain states?
Yeah. Well, yes, because Latin Americans are not actually, like, we're not a monolith.
You know what it is? It's that thing of the argument that if we let the immigrants in, they'll all vote Democrat, and they don't vote Democrat.
Well, okay. There's a bit of tweaking I have to do.
Thank you. Please tweak it, but do it with an accent, please.
If we let them illegals in, they might take our gerbs.
They took our gerbs.
Yeah. And then they'll vote Democrat because they're illegal immigrants.
They took our
gerbs. That part is actually true, though. The illegal immigrants are the ones that people are concerned about actually causing an issue with the voting, because there's one party that is outright trying to support their efforts to gain access to this country illegally, right? So if they help support an illegal immigrant population, then that means that they, after putting through some policies that allow these people to then carve a pathway to citizenship that was outside of our typical means, they are now indebted to that to that party for giving them the opportunity to do this. Okay. Well, that's the actual fear, and what a lot of people like genuinely believe is the motive. I can't say for certain, but I also wouldn't doubt it. Yeah. Because it sounds pretty on the nose. But that's what people are actually concerned about. Not because they're going to take your jobs, though that does hurt. It does hurt the low-income communities, which, by the way, we have a labor shortage in this country right now, and the response is to bring in people who will work for less. That doesn't sound like a Republican or a conservative opinion about immigration. Immigrants in general, and especially Hispanic immigrants, they have a traditional view that usually entails an appreciation of hard work. Now, if there are definitely Hispanics that do not think that way, but those usually don't want to be Americans anyway. They're very happy being from their respective country. So those are not really usually the ones that have an issue. The other Hispanics that do have the opinions that the Democrats are the way to go are usually the ones that reap the benefits some way that of Democratic policies. So this means other politicians or people who are exploiting their own labor.
Well, actually, you've raised a point about labor, so I'm going to read another one to you. Since our administration took office, we have created a historic 2 million jobs, more than any administration in modern history during the first 4 months. That is progress. And I'm now going to just point out that in the last 18 months, the US lost 10 million jobs.
Yes,
Plus,
they created jobs that have left us still to this day in the negatives.
yeah.
I guess good job. You could have been doing worse.
Yes, you could have done worse. Had certain things not already been implemented to an extent by the previous administration that you're taking credit for now. Okay, all right.
Yes, that's another major issue. There was once a former U.S. president who Donald Trump said, "I can fix the GDP," and the former president said, "How are you going to do that?" Donald Trump doesn't have some magic wand that he can that he can wave and make the GDP go up. It's completely unrealistic. And then Donald Trump did it, as if he had a magic wand. And then, like that, also, seemingly like magic, Biden, from that previous president's administration, like magic, undid it all. Some would say that it was actually Trump's fault because of the way that he handled the coronavirus. That is the actual. Well, what do you mean by downplaying it?
Well, people said that was what a lot of people argued when it
Yeah.
came to handling. He had downplayed the severity.
Oh, then yes, yeah. Downplayed the severity, didn't tell people, had gutted our resources. Those were a lot of the things that they had said that were Donald Trump's fault as to why we engaged.
If we're gonna do like a hindsight thing, I will concede that I do think that might have been where and when he had kind of lost the election, if that makes sense. Because I don't think he had lost it on many other areas. I felt this was the one that really fucked people.
I think so too. I think that, and also you have to remember that during the pandemic there were a lot of shots being fired at Biden's family, that the media. Oh my God! Did you see the more recent things that came out?
Yes, I did. Actually.
Where Hunter just drops the N-word casually in text.
Yeah, that's an interesting one because no one's talking about it over here.
No, I can't. Shocker! Really, I can't imagine what this problem might be.
Yeah, it's something.
Well, I mean that's one thing. I mean we'll ignore the how do I say this nicely?
Try to say it just.
Okay. The allegations of him doing inappropriate things with minors, you'd think would be something that people would want to cover, noting on how adamantly they fought against people like Jeffrey Epstein. Maybe it had something to do with the fact that the younger or the minority person has been reported to be his sister's kid, or I'm sorry, his sister-in-law's kid.
I find it fascinating that we heard bugger all about this over here, the allegations, and it's that thing of when it suits us, wait till the evidence is out, but otherwise, get rid of them.
Point is family member. I can't remember exactly the relation, but point is family member was the little one that he was abusing. Allegedly. So, these are things that mattered. The laptop that basically implicated Joe Biden in a corruption scandal in Ukraine, that was also a major news thing that was covered up entirely. That definitely played a part in Trump's loss of the election. The other pieces, of course, you can mention the blatant fake news regarding hydroxychloroquine. Oh, that one's a good one. That was part of the news this week. Hydroxychloroquine found to be actually effective
the
in
anti-malaria
reducing.
drug.
in reducing the symptoms and of COVID-19, as per the study that came out this fucking week. Amazing that we knew this before, and somehow, some way, we only just now found out about it.
How strange.
How very strange. And also, the issues with Hunter Biden, they're actually coming to light slowly, usually on conservative radio or TV. But wow, miraculously that we have these kinds of things coming up. And what do you think the Biden voters thought about this? Because I believe it was 17% of people who voted for Joe Biden, according to a survey, said that if they knew half the things about Hunter Biden and that laptop, they wouldn't have voted for him. Huh.
I doubt that they mean that. I doubt they're actually mean. I think they all still are very much blinded by the "we just hate Trump." So
Well, a lot of them didn't even know.
So I don't think they would. I think they're still thinking of that lesser to evil thing, regardless. I think they still would have voted Biden, even if 17% said otherwise.
No, the survey had said that, or people who had taken the survey literally had, and there are some avid Biden supporters who had said, if I had known this about Biden, I would not have voted for him.
That's interesting, because then who would they vote for? I mean, if they voted third party, then yes, it's possible Trump could have won. But they wouldn't.
Well, that's not necessarily the point. The point isn't necessarily that Trump could have won if this information got out. And if I said that, I didn't.
No. That's just what I inferred from what you said.
But what the importance is that Biden wouldn't have gotten 81 million votes.
Alleged.
Don't tease me like that.
Sorry, some states are still
I'm being nice on this channel.
Some states are having re-voted things in contests. It's not a case of alleged or anything. I'm only what I meant by alleged is there are still some states who are having these arguments, and that's all I wanted to raise with that alleged comment. Nothing more. Don't try and use YouTube. Please.
Yes, wise. But no, I think that the I kind of want to read up on some of the stuff that's going on in Maricopa. That's pretty interesting. That's the Arizona recount.
Yes, that's what I'd heard about. Yeah.
Yeah, there was somebody had posted something. I think it was Nick Rekieta had posted something about it. But I kind of want to see what's going on. Oh, apparently it's supposed to conclude this week.
Yes, I've literally just pulled up the news stories as you was Maricopa. Yeah. Election review. Audit continuing. Arizona GOP is fractured. I don't know.
Well, the GOP is fractured. Doesn't surprise me. And by that, I mean, we had rhinos since the Tea Party movement, right? That was where that commentary had even first been used, when they had said, they are fucking God, what is the word? Republicans in name only. When they started even using those terms, it's a real thing, and you've got people. I guess you call them dinos too, because you have, or maybe you could call them centrists. That's really the other part.
So you'd probably say, so we have the similar thing. Acronym was used on the Chancellor, where he was called a Chino, Chancellor in name only. It kind of works as a bit of a pejorative, really, if you're not in control.
Oh, it is. Absolutely, it is.
I don't mind it. I don't mind pejoratives.
I don't necessarily either. I think that it's honestly not it's not wrong.
And yes, triggering Trups is funny. I was hoping to get him with the Anskulis thing, but he'd forgotten about it, so it didn't work. But
no,
the allegedly thing, It's fine. We got him, boys.
I mean, it depends on how much you really want me to go off about, you know.
They took our jobs.
No, not that. I was gonna
No, I
say
just want to say it anyway.
election integrity.
What's that? An oxymoron?
Yes, quite right.
I think we're done.
I don't know. Are we?
No, but if we carry on, I'll fall asleep at my computer.
Okay. All right. Well, let me not hold Omegon for too much longer. Do you have anything to shill for this evening?
Yes, I have a fledgling 600 subscriber YouTube channel. It's called Trups LP. Please go subscribe. It's linked down below in the link tree. Trups' link tree.
Thank you.
That's about it, really.
Well, I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Yes, if you would be so kind, I would very, very much appreciate it. But other than that, I don't have anything to shill. And with that, I want to thank everybody for joining us this evening.
Smash the like.
Yes, smash it very hard. Big smash.
Big
and also, join us on Spotify. We have 153.
153.
All right, I remember the number.
Well
Yeah, go me. So that's always good. If you want to join us over there, we would be more than appreciative and welcoming, as we are to everyone who joins us.
Indeed.
And new set stuff coming in the future.
Hopefully, next week.
Ooh.
The artist who is doing our avatars, we've got the set already. You've all seen it, I think. Is this it? Yeah, that. The images for us will be added and should be ready for next Friday. We're not sure yet. If they are, then that's what you shall see.
Yes, and so I'm very excited about that.
As am
Other
I.
than that, that's all that we have. Again, thank you all for joining us. Say good night, Meg.
Good night, Meg.